According to the powers that be, we are live. Trust the powers that be. So thank you for tuning in to this, I'm not sure what edition of Excitable Utterance. This is a literary round robin that actually started here in the Chicago area. Well, it started in the city of Chicago, not in Chicagoland, in 2014. So it's 12, coming up on our 12th year. Started as an in-person event, and then through various circuitous routes, wound up online. In part, I guess some of you might realize how that occurred. And so we're just staying online, which on a night like this in Chicago, it's cold, it's kind of just unpleasant. It's nice to be inside, and nice for me to be here with two co-poets that I'm excited to read with. I've not Teresa and I have probably read before at a poetry center event, but maybe not. Either way, let me just quickly introduce them, and I'll go in the order on the screen, although the order that we're reading tonight will be a little bit different. So I'm Larry O'Dean, the host of this event. Gina Myers is here tonight. Hello, Gina.
Hi. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course, happy to have you. And then Teresa Zeglowitz. Did I do that pretty well?
Yes, beautiful, beautiful, Larry.
Pleased to have you here as well. And for those that may not understand, or I shouldn't put it that way, because there's different variations on what round robin means. Usually I've heard it in terms of musical events, but this is a literary event. The idea is the same. It's like the readers at the event get a chance to do a number of mini sets. And in this case, you're going to have 3 opportunities tonight to hear from each of us. I won't bother to tell you what the times are so that no one is thinking about that, but they're short little bites. It gives the chance to do something thematic, maybe to read from a longer piece, which I'm going to do tonight, which I don't usually do, and split it up however they want to format it. And I think that's good spiel wise for introductions. So I'm good to go, and I'll kick it off. Gina and Teresa, do you have any temporarily parting words before you go down to the green room where I have laid out an array of delicious eats for you?
Oh, how generous. I'm so thrilled to be here and so excited to get to hear you both read.
All right. So let's do this. I'm going to start again. Teresa will follow. Gina will come in the 3rd position, then it'll cycle around again. So Teresa, I'm going to say goodbye for the moment. See you soon. Ditto, Gina. Happy to have you here. And they are both happy that I have gotten them off screen so that I can get this going and I can figure out what the heck's going on. So yes, thank you again for being here tonight. This particular event was designed to be, any kind of writer. So it could be a prose writer, fiction writer. We just happen to have 3 poets tonight. I'm a poet myself. And so I'm really pleased and again, happy to be here with Teresa and Gina and I have been in conversation for many years, and we're from the same part of the country, the beautiful Michigan Mitt. But we've never actually read together, so I'm excited about that. And they both have new books, which they'll talk all about, I think. So I'm going to get started. And what I decided to do, let me have a quick swig here too. Tonight is, I have a manuscript that I'm shopping around, and it was written during COVID, so that's not unusual. It was sort of brainstormed prior to COVID, but that just gave me the opportunity / excuse to just go forward with it. And it's a manuscript called, of course, Cheesecake in the Bunker, and it's poems that are based on the films of Lucio Fulci, who's an Italian director, mainly known for horror films, but he actually directed widely. Made comedies, and he made literally every kind of genre of film, but he's remembered for his horror movies. And so I'm going to start, and I'm going to continue into my second set with one of the poems from this manuscript that I'm soliciting around that's longer. It was originally recently published in this new magazine called Tableware. which has got this very cool cover. And I was so pleased when the editor took it because, number one, again, it's a long poem. It's maybe a little idiosyncratic. I don't know. You'll tell me. And he really liked it, which is, did something for my ego, I guess. And it just seems to me like it's kind of difficult in a lot of ways in terms of just being picked up for publication. But, you just never know. And this is something I tell my students all the time as well. It's like, you just don't know what people are going to be into publishing. So the gist for the manuscript is the films of Lucio Fulci, and all the poems are titled from his movie titles, and he did some TV stuff as well. And so he's an Italian director, so some of the titles I left in Italian. Some of them are better known in Italian, and some of them are translated into English. So when I was putting the manuscript together, it was just kind of what appealed to me the most. So the poem I'm going to read in two parts is called Manhattan Baby, which is like a kind of a possession knockoff movie, kind of a Rosemary's Baby-ish possession movie. And it's actually more of a prose poem. And again, I'm going to read it in two parts. I don't think it's going to hurt anything to hear it in two parts. So after that introduction, let me just kind of shut up and get into it. The only other thing I will say as far as the structure of it is that, and when I was putting this manuscript together, I tried to get as much variety out of all the pieces as I could, is that you'll hear that all these firsts are listed in here. So every first in this poem is based on this article that I found on mommypoppins.com, which may not exist anymore. And it was 20 things to do with New York City babies before they turn 1. And so when I got that, I listed out these firsts. And from that, I expanded this Manhattan Baby, poem, which is nothing at all like the movie and is really riffing on the title. So let me, again, shut up and let me take it for part 1 of Manhattan Baby. First story time. Manhattan Mommy sinks into a beanbag while Manhattan Baby seemingly listens to Storytime Sue. Words mean nothing to Manhattan Baby. Cooing sounds and slow-spoken rhymes. The noises Manhattan Baby makes are not responses, but mimicry. First library visit. Manhattan Baby has no concept of what a library is. Manhattan Mommy navigates labyrinthine aisles of shelves, gazing blankly upon rows and rows and rows and rows of books, propelling Manhattan Baby in an Uppa Baby Vista Jackie aluminum frame convertible complete stroller with leather trim. Manhattan Baby randomly yanks a book loose and drops it on the floor, where Manhattan Librarian eventually retrieves it for reshelving. First movie. Manhattan Mommy on an outing with Manhattan Baby to a matinee showing of the latest G-rated animated film starring anthropomorphized creatures. Manhattan Mommy so exhausted she falls asleep and doesn't wake up, even though Manhattan Baby cries through the last quarter of the movie. First museum. Manhattan Baby parked in front of Salvador Dali's The Persistence of Memory in one of the Alfred H. Barr Jr. galleries on the 5th floor at MoMA, while Manhattan Mommy parleys with Manhattan Daddy on her iPhone 11 Pro. Dripping pocket watches dubbed the Camembert of Time by the artist are viewed through Baby's incipient stereo vision depth perception, though Baby has nothing to compare them to. Manhattan Family's condo clocks, all digital. Post-disconnecting, a gallery experiences volunteer flirts with an appreciative Manhattan Mommy, feeling slighted, ignored, and aggrieved because of Manhattan Daddy's no-show, long hours at the office. First animal encounter. Manhattan Baby meets Manhattan Cockroach. Manhattan Mommy A seals containers, B rinses recyclables, C covers garbage, D washes dishes, and E countertops every day, feeling resentful that, according to Manhattan Daddy, they can't afford a full-time maid. Nonetheless, here comes the uninvited representative of Order Bluttodia, 320 million years hence, scampering across the kitchen table, antenna twisting and whirling and twirling to baby's giggly delight. I really munched that. I think it's Bluttodia. Anyway, first theater show. Manhattan Mommy on an outing with Manhattan Baby to the Fantastics. If it's been on stage for over 50 years, it must be good. First exercise class. Manhattan Mommy tackles diastasis recti with Manhattan personal trainers, certified assistants, strengthening her transverse abdominis, TVA, through umbrella breathing with Kegel, pelvic tilts, toe taps, C-curving, side planking, and leg extensions. Manhattan Baby balanced on Mommy's ankles as counterweight. Feel the burn. First haircut. Manhattan Baby at Milk and Cookies Kids Spa and Salon, where fun, beauty, and delicious meet. Manhattan Mommy smuggles vodka in her Corksicle Canteen Classic Collection water bottle and thermos as Baby receives the Cookie Crunch combo. Wash, cut, blow dry, and scented hair topping. Baby's sweet pate smells delicious. Mommy's vodka infused and empty stomach churning. First local haunt. Manhattan Mommy in want of a Manhattan from Bemelman's Bar, made with premium spirits and presented alongside a frosty sidecar for tableside refueling. A must these Manhattan daddy-free days. Long hours at the office continued. Manhattan Baby, hand-painted wall mural from Madeline author and illustrator Ludwig Bemelmans, absorbs adorbs whimsy by osmosis for future imparted drollery. First photo session. Manhattan family photographer will run around like a crazy person, dance with abandon, make faces and moo like a cow. Go nuts over your newborn. Encourage lots of play, even a little naughtiness. Embrace messy hair, fingers and noses, and mismatched shoes. Yes, and yes, and yes, and yes, 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 and yes, and yes. Manhattan Mommy makes a note to call and set up sessions once Manhattan Daddy is gettable. First masterpiece. Manhattan Baby grasps and shoves honey sticks, environmentally friendly and sustainable beeswax crayons made with food-grade pigment, across big pages for wild and playful scribbling in 100% recycled North American Adventure spiral coloring book. Dark blue lines intersect with ochre scrawls, pink and yellow squiggles fabricating indiscernible simulacra. Up on the fridge it goes. I'm going to pause there because the next part I think segues nicely. And that means I can go punch the wall or something. And let me bring Teresa in here. Teresa.
Hi, Larry. Great. Thank you for that. I was once a Manhattan mommy with a Manhattan baby, and did use Mommy Poppins. So there were some familiar things.
Are they still? Do you know if they're still functional?
Oh, I don't know. This was circa 2018, 2019. So
yeah. So that's right around. Oh yeah, precipitously close to when all this. Yeah, I mean, this, again, the more COVID-y things will start to become apparent here in the next part of the poem. But yeah, I did. I've been to New York a number of times, but I've not lived there, and so I'm remembering now. I was just how you'll start to research this stuff, and then I came across that Mommy Poppins, and I thought, oh, this is going to be a good, And they came up with that list, and it was like, oh, this is great. So
it's useful when you're trying to figure out what to do with someone who can't locomote themselves yet.
Exactly. Oh well, I feel somewhat like I achieved what I meant to do. Now I'm getting
congratulations. Yeah. My stroller didn't have the leather trim though.
I can hope, right? Yeah, mine does, but that's all right. So I'm gonna get out of here. Are you ready to wow us here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, we'll see you in a little bit, and looking forward to it.
Great. Thank you,
Yeah.
Larry. Hi. All right. So I am going to be reading from my book, Something Small of How to See a River. This book takes place during the Dakota Access pipeline, the movement against the Dakota Access Pipeline in Standing Rock in 2016. I supported my friend Alina Eagleshield, who was running a school for the kids at the camp. I always want to say ahead of time that I am white and I really want to encourage folks to read Native authors who wrote about the movement or who are writing about the movement. There's an amazing piece called Women of Standing Rock in Orion that's very Googleable and has poems and photographs. There's also an amazing Lakota poet named Mark Chilton who wrote a book about the movement. So I highly recommend those as well. August at Oceti 1 year later. Oceti Shakoi was the name of the camp at Standing Rock. Crawl beyond barbed wire. Stand in the place you stood where you burned your fingers on the barely live embers of the sacred fire's final night. Looked at the half-abandoned world you'd loved. Torn snow pants, ice-crisped teepee, brittle hay, wondered if anything would ever feel as alive again. All year, you failed to unremember the dwindling firewood, helicopters scrawling contusions into sky. But the drifts of snow that swelled shut the door of the yurt are now groundwater. Keep alive the roots of the wood lily and blazing star. The state can take but not erase the hooves that spoke small O's along the dirt, or the log the kids climbed, hemmed now in clover. And I'm here again, touching my own lifelines to the cannonball, open palmed, ready to sift the silt, see the river snail beside my skin, the small homemaking of the caddisflies. Teresa, you are water too. And though the river is not untouched, still it squalls with life. So this book is arranged into 3 parts, and they're named after river parts. So the first part is headwaters. So I think since we're doing this in 3 sections, I will read 2 poems from each section. If you're married, why do you call her Teresa? Sherry asks, rehearsing fancy shawl, small arms like maple seeds, pulling her into pirouette. Our tent stretches like a calf in the cattails. What should I call her? Noah asks, expanding the center pole into my hands. Only yesterday, I hiked the hill to call and say, I miss you. They need lawyers. Come now. Gee, call her wife, Bella scoffs. We laugh and the body of our tent wobbles up, footprint obscuring tufts of seeding grass. Beneath the girls' feet, butterflies, communion thin, steam from the land. And why don't we do this in English? Name by relationship. When I crouch in the stomped dirt, circling the sacred fire, dinner propped on my knees, the kids yell, Teacher! This one word, a reminder of who I am. And I am ashamed to say I am jealous sometimes of this land, its goldenrod flinting the prairie dusk, the word ancestral which never belongs like a plum on my tongue. I come from the body of a woman I've never met, call only biological. Her helixes map a tangle of wildflowers inside me, or a rocky river's edge that I will never name. Across gravel, the strong arms of women stir blueberries down to their sweetest syrups, wojapi sugaring the air. I try and still am afraid to name this relationship. What it means to be me, to be white on this land, to settle my tent by the river I've been taught to call Cannonball. How badly some nights I want to call all of this home. The girls run off to start a tea stand, sell the kitchen's wares to dreadlocked weekenders, and I think whenever I say husband, I also say my. We unroll our sleeping bags into the vinyl-veiled gamel grass, where each night I will sleep, sometimes too easily, my pillow smoothing over the rocks beneath my back. Okay, see, I still actually have a couple minutes. So, because that poem mentions the name of the river as the Cannonball, I'm going to read a short poem that looks at that name a little bit. The story starts like this, with scraps of shell. And the river, just beginning to chisel her bed across the not yet prairie, to score through prehistoric fangs of cats, sea glass smooth ribs of swept away mammals. No nation dams her yet, floods the homes along her banks, corners her in puny lakes. No, now she sows and sows the once hinged hull of a mussel, a limpet emptied of its triangular heart, and new minerals starts to cling, spends centuries swelling, globe-like and resistant around this swallowed archive, now weathering, polishing away shale banks, revealing the shapes up to 10 feet in diameter. In Lakota, this place is called the Iya Wakagapi Wakpa, or Sacred Stone River. But when the soldiers came, saw the sunlit stones, warm and breathy as eggs, they rechristened her the Cannonball. Because when destiny means only more and more, when all your tools are weapons, even a river starts to look like a war. Thank you.
That was really great, Teresa. I'm just thinking about those last lines right now, and just like the sort of antagonistic and extractive relationship to the land that colonizers have that you're like capturing there, and historically, like obviously calling the river Cannonball. So thank you for sharing that.
And I'm so excited to hear you read.
Thanks. Yeah, so I also have a new book, as Larry mentioned. It's called Works and Days. It just came out in October from Radiator Press, which is how it is pronounced in Philadelphia, Radiator. It's a long poem, so I'm going to be doing similar to Larry. I'm just going to be breaking up sections. I'm not going to read the whole book, but I'm going to read throughout the book. It's a long poem, but it's in sections, so it's kind of easy to excerpt. And it's about work, and I wrote it from 2017 to 2024. So also similar to Larry, it passes through like a COVID moment, but it doesn't totally live there. So yeah, Works and Days. My boss emailed the department a TED Talk on gratitude. She wanted us to feel shitty. Sorry. She wanted us to feel grateful for our shitty jobs. When 40% of the staff was laid off yesterday, she suggested we have morning meditation sessions. I went through a year of spiritual growth. What does that mean for an atheist? I think it means I'm more centered now, more intentional. There were times in my life when I thought it was okay to be angry all the time, to have my anger go in every direction. Now my anger has intention. I want it to be useful. At the marketing conference, they're teaching us to sell authenticity. They say our brands must express empathy. A thought leader delivers the keynote on vulnerability. Her presentation ends with a quote from Gandhi. What all is carried out in my name. We experienced the hottest month on the planet. We did it again and again. Look, we're doing it again right now. Everybody's working for the weekend, unless you're working for the clampdown. The Jam sing, if we tell you that you got 2 days to live, then don't complain. John Maynard Keynes thought that technology would advance enough to give us a 15-hour work week, and David Graeber pointed out that it probably has. If you only worked 15 hours a week, what would you do with the rest of the time? Read, write, maybe keep a garden, prepare meals, talk to neighbors, spend time with family, volunteer, exercise, and relax too. Basically, feel fulfilled and connected to community. The Twilight Zone episode, Time Enough at Last, gets to the heart of it. Henry Bemis wants to spend his time reading, but everyone gives him a hard time about it, his wife going as far as crossing out all the words in a collection of poetry and taunting him with it. During his lunch break at his job at the bank, he hides away in a vault so no one can disturb him while he reads. When he emerges, he discovers he's the lone survivor of a nuclear attack. He walks among the ruined world in despair before discovering all the books from the library are still intact, and he has all the time in the world to read uninterrupted. That is, until he stumbles, his glasses fall from his face and break. So he sits surrounded by books, unable to see. This is the fear, that we go through our lives unable to do the things most important to us, everyone making demands of our time. The working condition says there will never be time enough. When you think you've made it, it's too late. Or as the dead Kennedys say in At My Job, thank you for your service and a long career. Glad you gave us your best years. At work, I attend an employee wellness event on financial planning and debt. It's sponsored by a bank, and they tell us to pay down debt. We should get second jobs. The bankers say another way to alleviate debt is to monetize your hobbies. Recently, after a poetry reading, I told another poet that poetry is more like a hobby to me. I didn't really mean it, and if I did, I still don't know how to monetize it. I don't want to monetize my life. Modern Times opens with our hero, the tramp, working in a factory, where he faces numerous indignities. The most dehumanizing is when he's forced to demonstrate a new feeding machine that will allow workers to work through their lunch breaks. It's already a terrible contraption before the machine malfunctions and sends soup into our hero's face. Has Amazon created a feeding machine for its warehouse employees yet? The workers already treated like a machine and forced to be in competition with machines that track how many items they process and when they use the bathrooms, the algorithm flagging concerns of low performance and idle time. Once, while visiting the city I grew up in, I went to a diner with friends from high school. They asked what I was doing for work, and I told them whatever ridiculous title I had at my office job. So you're a pencil pusher, they said. At the end of the day, there wasn't a product to show. I told the visiting writer I wasn't writing anymore. She teased, I guess you've said everything you need to say. Another time, I was the visiting writer, and a student asked, what does not writing look like to you? It turns out, when I wasn't writing, I still filled notebooks with words, but I didn't think it counted because there wasn't a product to show. There had been a moment where I'd been hopeful. On a large scale, people were seeing how messed up things were, how society lacked the means for collective care, how our system was failing us again and again. But then talk began of a return to normal, and somehow this normal was even worse than before. Still, there are those who resist. The headlines proclaim, people don't want to work anymore, as if it was ever something somebody wanted to do rather than something they had to do. On Twitter, someone points out, no, people don't want to be exploited anymore. Smoke and particulate matter from wildfires choke cities across the country. We're told to stay inside and close the windows, as if most work isn't meaningless in the face of this and what's yet to come. And I think I'll pause there.
Wow. Oh, I was getting all caught up, and I was like, I wasn't sure if we were going to be that we were done. Is the whole book one long poem?
Yep.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Do you normally write in that mode? Were you like longer pieces in general, or no?
This is the first like book length poem I've done. I've tried to write book length poems before, and I've always gotten to 26 pages, and that's the furthest I've gotten for some reason. I did it multiple times where 26 was where it ended.
Why
I
do you
do
think
feel
that's kind of interesting?
I have no idea.
Cosmic about 26, yeah.
I guess so. Yeah. It was years apart, different attempts, and for whatever reason, that was the amount of attention I had to give something. But Yeah, I do feel like it's the serial poem is something that I feel comfortable in and increasingly write from. I sort of feel sometimes like I've forgotten how to write an individual poem, like a standalone poem.
Yeah, but you can definitely draw from it, and your approach is already showing you don't have to over explain anything or whatever. You can just drop. I mean, I'm sort of saying this for myself too. You can just drop someone down in the middle of it, and I think it'll work fine if it's
Mhm.
compelling. Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I tend to write shorter stuff. I've certainly nothing against longer pieces at all, but it's an interesting challenge, I think.
Mhm.
And I kind of really muse on this 26 and stopping a little bit more. I don't have an answer for it. You don't have an answer for it, but that's the kind of thing that would give me pause. It'd be like, what is it about the 26 that I need to be aware of? So
Yeah.
no, sounded great. I'm really
Thanks.
glad that you're here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here, and I'm excited to hear more Fulci. I'm a big Fulci fan, so
Oh yeah, well we
thank
could
you.
talk about this over.
Yeah.
Did you know the Manhattan Baby? Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that one, no, so I'm gonna add it to my list.
Yeah, the challenge for doing this again was try to vary. There's a lot of different modes, and I have some shorter pieces I'm going to do at the end that are more traditionally narrative, but a couple of them are in fixed forms. But was how to like make the poems distinct, and then how to also imagine. Then the COVID thing was imagining how I could like spread it out over the course of a book, and I
Mhm.
didn't do every movie.
Yeah.
Some titles just didn't do it for me, and some were just kind of like I couldn't get anything out of it. I wanted to, but it just wasn't working.
Mhm.
But oh yeah, we'll have to talk more for sure.
Yes,
Yeah,
sounds
so
good.
and then yeah, you'll have to tell me what you think of Manhattan Baby afterward. This is like I said, this is nothing like the movie. It's more just a riff on the title. So
Mhm.
all right, I'm
All right.
excited. All right, so thanks again. We'll see you in a bit.
Thanks.
All right. Past that first set is always a good point to be in. Um, so like I said, I had not read this before. I mean, I've been reading from this manuscript and trying to well, not trying while I've been shopping the book around, and yeah, first outing. But every time I've read from it before, I've avoided this poem because it's longer. So let me pick up again with the second half of Manhattan Baby. Again, with this ordering principle of these 20 things to do with New York City babies before they turn one, and I left off with first masterpiece, so I'm going to pick it up again with first spring outing, where um, well, I said at the beginning, but where the influence of COVID starts to be felt. I think there's been some intimations of it here, but now more aggressively so. Okay, so this is first spring outing. Manhattan Mommy has a rare rendezvous with Manhattan Daddy for a late lunch of harissa shrimp and sujuk with fresh lavash and baked padettes at Pira Mediterranean Brasserie at what one Grand Central Place. A co-worker of Daddy's office left early today, feeling headachy, fatigued, and coughing, so he's expected to cover. Mommy and Daddy kiss in the lobby near the Daniel Chester French bronze Abraham Lincoln sculpture before Daddy shoots the elevator straight up to work additional overtime. First playground. Manhattan Baby rides the subway with Manhattan Mommy from Fulton Street to High Street. Mayor de Blasio also aboard, surrounded by TV and press corps. Short walk to Harry Chapin Playground with tot swings and safety surfacing, surrounded by pin oak trees, Quercus palustris, and American lindens, Tilia americana. Streets empty, unusually quiet. First friends. Manhattan Mommy has articulated on multiple occasions with next door neighbor about a play date with next door neighbor's baby girl. Doorbell buzzes, no response. Mommy is confident she hears someone moving around inside. First play space. David Rubenstein Atrium at Lincoln Center with floor to ceiling fountain and vertical gardens temporarily closed. Toddler gym at Chelsea Piers, no crawling, no rolling, no jumping, no exploring, no open play on state of the art equipment, no learning, adventure, or fun. Splashy dynamic H2O exhibition in Children's Museum of Manhattan Sussman Environmental Center with 800 square feet of hands-on interactives and cool, colorful graphics, offering visitors a fun place to chill while they learn how New York City gets its water and the role water plays in our local environment. Closed indefinitely. Shoe-free and nut-free unstructured creative play at the Playroom NYC's 3,000 square foot facility featuring indoor climbing structure, dress-up area and stage, play bodega, custom train table, ride on cars, and more. No answer. ACT PlayStation's warm and spacious gymnasium, complete with child-size equipment that includes slides, balls, and places to crawl, all in a safe mat area. On-site programming curtailed. Get up close and personal with the animals at the art farm. Plenty of space to romp and roam with separate, spacious areas for the petting zoo, playroom, arts and crafts, bearded dragons to chinchillas and chickens. Now offering virtual classes. Manhattan Mommy vows to try again tomorrow. First dip. Manhattan Mommy investigates important service changes to NYC parks, additional safety precautions, program cancellations, potential closures. Only businesses declared as essential are allowed to remain open. Manhattan Baby in the bathtub afloat on Funboy classic unicorn with translucent material tinted with glittery millennial pink. Unicorns do exist. First foodie experience. Manhattan Baby gone from suckling milk to slurping solids in the blink of a sleep-deprived eye. Manhattan Mommy Grubhub's dinner from La Galou restaurant, tuna tartare japonais, mesclun greens, truffle fries, Manhattan Daddy's last day at work before stay-at-home order is in effect. Profiteroles await his arrival. First tradition. New York City has reported its first death of a child to COVID-19, one of hundreds new state fatalities overnight that brought the grim toll to 1,342 by Monday evening, officials said. The age of the minor wasn't released, but the victim did have an underlying condition. First cab ride. Manhattan Daddy taxis to office to grab forgotten must-have files, sanitizer, and disinfectant wipes. Manhattan Mommy watches from the window as cab accelerates slowly into a trafficless street. First birthday party. Sporting disposable blue nitrile gloves, Manhattan Mommy A cuts 3 pieces from tri-tiered rainbow-flecked vanilla cake layered with creamy frosting, crunchy crumbs, and rainbow sprinkles from Milk Bar. B, topped with eco-friendly, non-toxic hand-dipped beeswax candles. C, serves with grass-fed, chemical-free raw udder milk for birthday baby and off-dry Riesling for mommy and daddy. D, washes dishes, then hands for 2 full happy birthdays after, and E, wipes countertop with EPA-registered Scrubbing Bubbles multi-purpose disinfectant. Feeling heartened that, according to Manhattan Daddy, after this is all over, perhaps they can afford a full-time maid after all. A happy ending, sort of. All right, so let me bring Teresa back in. All right, Teresa. Oh, you're muted. So.
Okay, here we go. Yay! Yay!
Nervous. Yeah.
Irregular. That was just regular. I had muted myself. All right. Thank you. Yeah, it's wild to remember those like beginning of figuring out like lockdown pandemic times and what do you disinfect and what do you
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's been enough reaction now in music and everything else that I perennially feel a little behind, and I mean, I think when one's in the midst of something like that, and it can be other events in your life, some people are able to write about it in the moment, and I guess by definition, I was writing about it in the moment, but there's always still the going back to it, which I did with this, and the kind of looking back through a different lens at all of that. And here I am, of course, the conceit, writing about all this Manhattan stuff that just for whatever reason strikes me as amusing sounding. I don't mean the COVID part, but like some of these things they're engaging in. But and hoping it still has some kind of resonance. So
yeah, I mean, I think I can never write about things in the moment either. Like I have to process them before I don't know. I can't just write about something as it's happening. I can think about it, but I mean, I'm reading from a book about something that happened 10 years ago, so I understand, but I do think that these I don't know, what's important to us as humans is important to us, whether we're reading it at the moment or 5 years later or 10 years later, right? I think that the processing and the lessons that we gain from thinking about things afterwards are really important.
Yes. And important to remember as well. Yeah.
Totally.
All right. Let me vamoose once again, and we'll hear more from you and then see you in the third pass as well.
Great. Thank you. All right, so I am reading from the second part of my book now, which is called Floodplain. I also want to show each chapter, or each section of this book opens with a quote from one of the kids who was at the school at the camp, which was really important to me, that their voices were a really big part of this book. This section is once there started to be a lot more police violence. So I'm actually going to read the quote that opens it, though, which is from Frankie Archambault, who is my former student and my wonderful friend now. No matter how scary things got, every morning we would pray by the river. Someone would light the sage, and I'd think about all the things I'm thankful for, like how we're by the river and we have clean water and we had breakfast and the sun is coming up. I'd start praying for the water and for the people who were sick or troubled at that time. We'd always put our hands in the river. It was so cool, and I could feel it between my fingers as it was flowing down the stream. I'd feel more with myself, more like myself. And Frankie said that when she was 15, and she was 11 at the time of the camp. All right, I am going to read a poem called On Building a School. Shailena, age 9, of hot pink coat and perfect scrambled eggs, presses her Velcroed boot against the wire of ice and barbs, opens the fence that keeps us from the river. She tells me what she heard about the sacred objects returned by the county after the raid, hand-fringed hide of the chanupa bags, deer given skin of the drums, stained yellow with the piss of police. I crawl through the passage, past the cottonwood choking with leafless vine, the abandoned nest of the snow bunting, preserved in its sheath of ice. She speaks of these handmade objects, and I think of what we are trying to build, this idea we call a school. I think of a friend who said, native tradition creates beauty in every object, a reminder to care for what you have. I've spent years with the disposable test booklets, the tiny eyes of each multiple choice, classrooms with 4 reliable walls, years believing I could know what was best. Shailena, of 6 sisters, of telling adults to stop screaming about cops and scaring the kids, leads me down a sandy slope, away from the road that spins with pickup trucks packed with lumber, ladders, tent poles, these fragments that will rebuild the homes that were taken last week, rebuild homes we all know may be taken again. We dip to a slim cuticle of a bank, frozen, freckled today with trash. Months ago, the kids built a ramshackle bridge here, the driftwood glittering jade with algae, the splintering damp in the sun. They climbed to the edge, unbothered that the bridge reached no certain bank, scrambled and scraped hands and knees, and trusted the rotting of the wood, or maybe trusted even the fall. The first time somebody mentioned staying the winter among the horse games and giveaways of August, I laughed. The story of my skin made me believe we'd win history quickly, go home. How will I know how to name this for the kids? for myself if we fail. Shailena digs in the cold sand, unearths a Skittles wrapper, the rainbow mud fossiled into brittle bird. I am about to warn her to stay away from the water's cold edge when she slips the trash gently into my hand, says, "Sha." Next, hands me a crinkled Lay's bag. "Ji," a ramen wrapper. "Sha ji." She hands me each Lakota color, picks up each piece one by one, as if we'd never heard the ambulances screech from the road, as if the helicopters didn't scar the air with their mosquito song. She names each item as if there was no other sound in the world for what we held in our hands. December. The turtles press like brown gems into the cannonball's ring of river and mud, shush the speed of their hearts. Beneath the ice, their bodies remember this slow waltz of survival. In the yurt, we're low on food. For days, the kitchen serves half-frozen soup. The black-capped chickadees, light as a palm of paper clips, stay alive by sinking their temperature like a stone, choosing to let hypothermia through the doors of their feathers, the vaulted windows of their bones. Rivulets snake from the treads of our boots, dampen our sleeping bags, freeze in our socks. In the gravel light of the storm, raccoons grapple their fingers, bury their masks in the warm musk of one another, their hallowed tree filling with heat. Our gloves drip from the blue tarped ceiling, its wooden poles, a sky raining with empty hands. The writers of history call this civilization, how far we are from the ways we've kept our own bodies warm. There are no police in this poem. This will be my last one of this section. Only the kids balancing in their snow boots, the log beneath them rainbowed in resistance slogans. Slush gray light interrupted by the bright flags of their arms. They wave down our car. Teachers! Teachers! We unclick the loose tooth of each manual lock, and the dinged up doors, full weight of the kids on their handles, fly open like the arms of startled infants. There are no police in this poem. Only Shawnee Ray, my foot as her springboard, vaulting to the council, asterisking my borrowed skirt with the juice of her gas station pickle. Only Shelby's hands winging my books from the back seat, and Shailena, who can't be bothered, wedging her knees into the narrow volumes of poetry, slick picture book covers. I'm saying there are no police in this car, where Frankie lunges over everybody, her arms and long black cape of a coat wrapped around baby Dylan, Marshmallow Man in his snowsuit, fingers Sour Patch sticky. Somehow, suddenly, my hands, my feet are off the wheel, the pedals. I am ankle deep in the snow. All the teachers are shivering spectators of this wild joy. And I can see it doesn't belong to me, but I can love it anyhow. There are no police anywhere as Emma's elbow pokes the horn. Beep, 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 jostling through the snow muffle of prairie as Raina and Nyla and RJ co-sardine the driver's seat. Getaway curls smushed on the felt of the ceiling. There are no seats left in the car. So Michael and Layton scramble the windshield, sprawl on the roof. There are only the kids shouting the ecstatic tally of themselves. 1, 2, 3, all the way to 14 as they take this frame that looked so inflexible and there make space for each of their bodies. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was great. I'm curious, you said that, obviously this happened in 2016 and it took you a while to write about it. How did you come to like putting it together as a book? Like, did you know like you were writing enough poems that they made sense to come together? Or like, yeah, I'm just sort of curious about that.
Yeah. Well, I was writing it as my MFA thesis originally, so I guess I knew I was, that was part of probably me having the discipline to write it as a project. But I mean, it was really hard to get started on it and hard to figure out how to process it and what form for it to take, But I think that once I kind of did find ways in and had a conception, I could really see the story that I wanted to tell, and I think that being at the camp was such a powerful experience and so beautiful as much as it was hard. I was like, I want my readers and I want the people I love to be able to be a part of all of these different parts of this experience with me. I had like a fake table of contents for a while that I would like fill in as I wrote, actually wrote poems. Nice. How about you? Oh, well, you already said you knew yours was going to be a full length, It's really beautiful how you weave so much throughout, all of these different places that the pieces come that inform each other and build this bigger picture.
Thank you. Yeah. And I just want to say that like the poems that I've heard tonight, like so far, definitely capture that like complexity of like the community and the joy, like all of the good, positive things, alongside like going through this like terrible, violent situation. So I think you've achieved that for sure. But,
thank you, Gina.
Yeah.
I will let you read. I'm excited to hear more of the book.
Thanks. Yeah, so I'm going to continue with Works and Days and talk about Dolly Parton a little bit. In 9 to 5, Dolly sings, "They just use your mind and they never give you credit. And later, it's a rich man's game, no matter what they call it, and you spend your life putting money in his wallet." Nonetheless, she also sings the lie we are taught under capitalism, that one day our ship will come in, the tide's going to turn, and it's all going to roll your way. 9 to 5 is a working person's anthem, which is why there was such a reaction in 2021 when Dolly reworked the lyrics for a Super Bowl commercial. The new version, 5 to 9, marks the time after your workday that you are now to devote to your side hustle, the song a celebration of working all the time and monetizing your interests and hobbies. That this came out during the pandemic, no less, was doubly painful, as companies recommended people develop new skills in their downtime and ignore the grief of everyone and everything lost. In 5 to 9, Dolly sings, "Working 5 to 9, you've got passion and a vision, 'cause it's hustling time, a whole new way to make a living. Gonna change your life, do something that gives it meaning, with a website that is worthy of your dreaming. And, well, you got your dreams and you know they matter. Be your own boss, climb your own ladder. That moment's getting closer by the day. And you're in the same boat with a lot of your friends, launching ideas y'all believe in. The tide's gonna turn and it's all gonna roll your way." What strikes me most is that both versions of the song include the line, "The tide's gonna turn and it's all gonna roll your way." This lie that keeps us complacent, the lie we tell ourselves to keep going through the day, that leads us to blame others or ourselves for systemic cruelties, that discourages solidarity. The tide is gonna turn and it's all gonna roll your way. The lack of access to dependable jobs, good pay, and benefits has been reframed as freedom from the 9 to 5. Be your own boss. The gig economy welcomes you. If you're not thriving, you're not hustling hard enough. Recently, I woke up at 4 a.m. thinking about the Twilight Zone episode, A Stop at Willoughby. It occurs to me that this might be the only Twilight Zone with a happy ending, where the protagonist is able to leave his unhappy life behind and escape into a place and time of his own invention, where he can rest and be happy. It's only later that I'm reminded of how the episode actually ends. In a delusion, Gart dies by suicide after jumping from a train. Earlier in the episode, Gart's boss berates him, saying, "This is a push business, a push, push, push business. Push and drive. It's push, push, push all the way, all the time, right down the line." When Gart explains to his wife that some people just aren't competitive, he finds an unsympathetic ear. There are signs throughout the episode that he's heading towards suicide. The train conductor notes it's getting darker earlier all the time, and Gart says the rich get richer and the days get shorter. Toward the end of the episode, Gart says he can't take it anymore. He's committed himself to getting off the train the next time he dreams it arrives in Willoughby. Is there something wrong with me that I still see this as a happy ending? In Gart's mind, he arrives happily in Willoughby. In the original timeline, he's dead, his body loaded into a hearse with a back door that reads, Willoughby and Son Funeral Home. When Gart is breaking at work, he pictures his boss's face floating above him, repeating, push, push, push. I'm attempting to push back against this push, push, push. There is no need to hustle or grind, no need to save sleep or happiness or one's passions for when they're retired or dead. How do we create a meaningful life now? I'm not leaning in, I'm leaning out. For years, instead of writing poetry, I only wrote content. Each year, authenticity ranks high on the marketing trend forecasts. In a webinar, I'm told that authenticity will be more important than ever in the year of AI. Consumers will want to know we're human. In another webinar, we're taught how to integrate AI into our workflow. The featured speaker says, I know a number of you will lose your jobs in a sort of sorry, not sorry way. If our society were centered on care rather than exploitation, it would be fine for technology to take our jobs. None of the webinars discussed the environmental cost of AI. This last Monday was the hottest day on record. The Washington Post headline reads, AI is exhausting the power grid. Decommissioned nuclear reactors are coming back online. There are talks to reopen 3 Mile Island. States are beginning to scale back plans on clean energy and double down on coal, all to power the data centers needed for AI to operate. The tech companies say not to worry. AI could help us find more innovative solutions to help the environment after AI destroys the environment. AI trains on existing internet text. Within a year, most text on the internet will be written by AI, which will then be fed into AI eating its own shit, which will lead to model collapse and worse results for our environmental savior. And I'll pause there.
Once again, I'm musing and I'm thinking about, that's really great. Of course, the AI stuff is infuriating me. I mean, I don't know anyone personally that sees any golden lining, any lining that is not a shit lining regarding this. So that gets my bile going. But I love you had the Twilight Zone reference before, and return to it here, and then the Dolly Parton reference. And again, not having read the poem, it looks like you're drawing from a lot of popular culture sources. It totally works. You know what I'm hearing? I see how they're interacting with each other. And there was another thing that I thought you wove in there too that I thought was really great. And now maybe the talk about working class, right? You and I are from the same area, which is a very working class area. I'm imagining that you grew up like in a working class family. Is that true, or I should make no assumptions, but
yeah, I would say my parents are middle class, but came from working class backgrounds, and they both they didn't go to college, but they got civil servant jobs, and so we're able to sort of move that way. But I certainly lived in a neighborhood full of all my friends' parents were GM workers, or like most of my family, aunts and uncles worked for GM, so the auto factory was very much part of. And UAW stuff was, part of my life for sure.
Yeah. My great grandfather was heavily involved in the union, and but then again, my it's a convoluted conversation. I have like sort of a, I mean, it's too much of a cliche to say love-hate relationship with where I grew up, because I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for that. But I will say just definitely the working class, being a working class person, and we were like lower middle class as well, but a lot of people had not gone to college, preceded us. My mom went to junior college, right?
Yeah.
My dad didn't go to college, and then I knew a lot of people that worked at GM, and just repeating everything you just said. I totally know that. But I've also been removed from it for a long time now, and living in Chicago is a pretty working class city, but also you get the great divides here. So I still find myself riffing on that and thinking about that coming from that place, because there's some people who just they don't know the uniqueness of what it's like to come from a place where General Motors ruled for everything. And it seems like it's unavoidable that doesn't seep into people's work. So it's not surprising for me to hear that interlaced with everything else that you're talking about, and stuff I remember reading from you in the past. I believe also dealt with that. Does that seem right? I'm speaking really vague.
Yeah, I mean, I've written about Saginaw a lot. I do love the city I'm from, and it is very complex, and it's lost, more than half its population in my lifetime, and there's not jobs there. Like I tried to live there as an adult at one time. I moved back, and it was not possible. I made it for like 3 years. It wasn't possible for me, I will say. There are obviously plenty of people who are surviving there, but I could, like, just trying to find a job was hard. And I was willing, because I had waitressing and like all kinds of experiences. And I was like, please hire me at the movie theater concession stand. And they would looked at my resume and they're like, no. So I was like, but I need a job. Like, I don't, and I will show up and I will do the work, So
amazing how that works against you. It's working against you. It's absurd. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a lot of complex feelings about Saginaw. So it's something that I've always written about and engaged with. And I also think because like my own path as an adult hasn't been clear or direct, and I've done a lot of jobs and made ends meet. And, it's, even though I've, went to school and like got a master's degree and, like there was, I just sort of have been finding my way. And I think I remember one time my dad telling me when I was in college, like having a conversation with him about something, and I was really riled up about something. And I said, well, we're middle class, right? And he goes, well, I am, but you're not. And I was like, oh, I hadn't thought of that,
Dang, yeah, wow.
I mean, like there are different ways to define it, obviously, but it was just like an interesting moment of like, you don't know what you are yet. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks.
Wow. Oh wow. Oh, okay. Well, I could definitely keep going down this path, but I will put it on pause again for now. I really enjoyed that again, and I'm gonna pull back a little bit, stay in the same manuscript, but let's see how these go, and we'll see you for the final pass.
Great.
All right. Oh yeah. Both Teresa and Gina loving their work tonight. I hope everyone's enjoying it as much as I am. So okay, for this last pass, I'm going to read a series of shorter poems. I think they're all pretty much under a minute long, and they're again from this Fulci book, and a couple of these are in forms. Why don't I just start with the first one, and then I can comment on each one as I see fit. The first one is called The Beyond, which is probably one of Fulci's best known movies, if not his best known movie. Maybe Zombie is the better known one. I don't know, but The Beyond is a very surreal. I love The Beyond, and it's actually a sonnet. And like I would say probably most of the poems in this book don't really, if they don't directly, if they're not ekphrastic in evoking Fulci, they're playing on the title, or they're working on a different meaning of that the film in question might evoke or have evoked for me. But I don't know how I settled on doing this as a sonnet. It's just like all that stuff compositionally. Who knows how that happened? But okay, The Beyond. You have carte blanche, but not a blank check. A dime a dozen doesn't mean 13. A piece of cake is not wholesome cuisine. I'd rather eat my hat with triple sec. You're on the ropes, but never neck and neck. Yet when I burst your bubble, spilling the beans, you nip it in the bud and don't make a scene. Back to square one. Practice makes perfect. Cool as a cucumber and eating humble pie with a frog in your throat, you give a man a fish. Happy as a clam and knuckled down, no questions asked and hung out to dry, an arm and a leg get you to a photo finish. Results: in for a penny, in for a pound. All right. So this is Boys of the Jukebox. I think the Italian title was Ragazzi del Jukebox. And I've seen different translations of this, like Jukebox Kids and whatever, but Boys of the Jukebox, in 1959 rock and roll movie with Adriano Celentano in it, who is like a multi-hyphenate. I think he might have directed some movies himself, but he's acting in this movie. And 1959 film, and there's an epigraph in Italian at the beginning. I'm the American translation, more or less. The quote is from Giorgio Amendola, who was the Communist Party leader in Italy at the time. And the American translation of it is, "We will not be charmed by the new era of refrigerators and televisions." So this is Boys of the Jukebox. The Italian Elvis is poorly synced, but the show must go on. Strumming guitar and snapping fingers in a frenzied foray through the basement bar, La Fogna, the sewer, band outfitted in white, 2 saxes, drums, piano, stand-up bass. Celentano in black sports a bow tie and boogie-woogies. Il Moleggiato, the flexible one, parts the crowd of ecstatic dancers in swinging thrall to the economic miracle. Superfluous wealth, efficiency, prosperity. As the camera pans, Elkie Summer pouts in gloves above each elbow, her glittery clutch tenderly stroked. This is called Dracula in Brianza, which he did a number of these sort of like horror comedy films, and this is one of them. I think it's also called like Dracula in the Provinces or whatever, but I like Dracula in Brianza better. It includes part of a translation of a Rilke poem that David Ferry wrote. The translation, the Rilke poem is called Song of the Little Cripple at the Street Corner, and it's woven into this. Dracula in Brianza. When I answer the door with a proper buonasera, they always recoil. I'm used to it. It could be the missing incisor, exotropia, limp. That would be enough to stun anyone. But it's mostly kyphosis that makes them uneasy. As Rilke said, my body's all wrong, all bent and twisted, all this that hurts me so. I could have gone to medical school with what know-how I've picked up on my own. Imagine that, Dr. Peppino. But I was born to serve. The castle won't clean itself, table set itself, candelabrum light itself, so when I'm needed, I'm there. Maybe God didn't like the look of my face when he saw it. God can jump into the Ada for all I care. Another Fulci comedy is this. And this is one of those titles I was just intrigued by. The Long, the Short, the Cat. I don't even remember what the movie ostensibly was about. But just the sort of rhythm of that title lent me into like turning this into a villanelle. So The Long, the Short, the Cat. The long, the short, the cat, the butler, the maid, the dog's body, vying for this and for that. Such as a home to hang their hats, an estate wouldn't be too shoddy. The long, the short, the cat engaging in idle chit-chat, disdaining the needlessly gaudy, vying for this and for that, like a mutual habitat, serving each other hot toddies. The long, the short, the cat is shooing bureaucrats and practicing karate, vying for this and for that through their own coup d'etat while dishing up manicotti. The long, the short, the cat, vying for this and for that. I know through the power of slant rhyme, I could very well have said coup d'etat, but when you get into those at rhymes, you got to do the coup d'etat. I might as well call it a coup d'etat at this point. All right, so I've got one more. One of the poems I'm most pleased about from the whole collection is this one called Operation San Pietro, which is another one of his like comedy / something else genre movies. And this one's kind of like a caper movie or a crime movie. And this epigraph I took from the Edward G. Robinson Encyclopedia. He's the star of the movie, and I think he rather disdainfully starred in it, for some quick cash. But I thought that the little description of it was just so blunt and perfect. So it's used as the entry point into the poem. Joe Ventura, a gangster, buys the Pieta for $40 and a plate of spaghetti. And Operation San Pietro. I was looking for something to spice up my office. Not much going on in there. A desk, a few books, coat rack. Got to keep up appearances. There's a spot in the corner where I think she'd be good. Mary looks so much bigger than her boy. Michelangelo maybe wanted her sadness to be more huger than proportional. I'm no artist, so I can't say. But her wrinkled gown tumbles off Mary like waves of melting mozzarella pooling at her feet. Jesus looks like he's asleep and not just dead. I never seen this at the Basilica, only heard about it. The marble is very pretty. How can someone carve rock so perfect? I think it's about the most perfect thing I've ever seen. Tonight, I'm going to sit and stare at it while I eat my dinner. I get most of my best ideas when I eat. All right. Teresa.
Hello. I get most of my best ideas when I eat. I love that. This is such an interesting project, Larry. Did like a lot, like how did things open up for you as you were writing? Did you kind of know where this was going to go, or did it sort of surprise you as it was happening?
Oh, it definitely surprised me because, again, this guy, initially I thought, okay, these are all going to be ekphrastic, I'll like watch all the movies, and some of them were like not available. And so I thought, well, okay, I won't do those. But then as I started getting into it, it's like, it wasn't so much that, oh, I can't have an ekphrastic response to this as I thought, oh, this is kind of boring if all I'm doing is like sort of responding to what the movie itself is showing me or saying. So then I realized, well, this guy's kind of like a poverty, let's say poverty row director. I mean, but like has like this burnished reputation, maybe better now, never really achieved what he wanted to achieve. Again, it's complicated, but like a very weird sort of set of films, and like he himself was conflicted about it. So I just started just approaching them more intuitively. So sometimes, go with the Italian title, go with like the imagery that it evokes, go with like the beyond. It's got nothing to do with the movie at all, but it's just more, again, being inspired in a larger sense by what this guy did. And I have to say it was enjoyable to do.
Yeah.
And it was approached as a book.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I had a sense of I needed to make it a certain length, but again, I wanted to give it some breathing room too. So, if you know anybody that'd be interested in this kind of thing, there's some more prosy pieces in there too, but it's definitely poetry.
Yeah.
So,
it's interesting to see. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sort of like, I'm constantly musing. So no, I wasn't going to say.
Yeah. I was just going to say it's interesting to see how, while the poems are very different from each other, there's all these sort of themes and echoes that are sort of bouncing between them.
Yeah, good. Then I feel I've achieved some of what I was trying to do, whether I knew it or not in the moment or even afterwards. So I appreciate that. Okay, so I will get out of here, and then I'll see you at the end for the fireworks celebration. Now I better cue up the fireworks. Yeah.
All right, can't wait. All right, so this last section of the book is called Confluence, and this section all takes place after I'd arrived home from the camp. I left in December, planning to visit my family, and then needed emergency back surgery and couldn't go back. And okay, so a lot of the poems in this section deal with, some in the other sections too, but deal with documents from the state of North Dakota or from the police. And I never read those, even though I love them. So I'm challenging myself to do that tonight. So this is called By the Numbers. I'm just going to hold it up here so you can kind of see what the original state of North Dakota document looked like. And then in the bottom is the asterisk. And that part is my poem. By the Numbers. March 16th, 2017, Agency North Dakota Joint Information Center. Bismarck, North Dakota. The following numbers are a breakdown of the vehicles abandoned and towed from the Ocheti camp. Total vehicles abandoned, 44. Trucks, pickups, 13. Vans, 2. Cars, 12. Snowblade removal, 1. Snowmobile sleds, 4. Flatbed trailers, 6. Campers, motorhomes, 3. Log splitter, 1. Buses, 2. I'm lucky. Mine isn't one of them. Dragged by Val to the casino just ahead of the bulldozer tracks. I should say quickly, my friend Val gave me a camper to live in while I was at the camp. Dragged by Val to the casino just ahead of the bulldozer tracks. In the months I spend in bed, I try each day to forget it. Not to imagine it there, in the farthest corner of the parking lot, drifts heaped against the aluminum like dirty laundry. Cabinets swung open, exposing particle board hearts. Socks toppled into the sink, iced into inhuman shapes. The Ziploc-covered windows must be torn to flimsy teeth, snow swelling the pictures the kids drew, their journals, my lessons, soaking the star quilt, mildewing the sunset-colored piecework. We all thought we could come back for what we left. And this poem is the second to last poem in the book. I was living in St. Louis at the time. So when I went home from camp, the home I went to was St. Louis. And so this poem is about the confluence of the Missouri and the Mississippi, which became very, very symbolically important to me as I kind of tried to piece my life together again. Confluence. Here at this half-assed state park without a sign, with its cracked concrete bench and triangle of dying cottonwoods, the Missouri joins the Mississippi, meeting not like a ballet or a twisting of silk scarves, but maybe like construction workers, shaking hands before a building forever half built. And what is there to do now but love this unfinished work of the river? Carrying everything it has ever been given. Snowmelt streams like a cold bandana circling its neck. Shreds of styrofoam cooler catching in its teeth. Sturgeon eggs blooming with their translucent tails, nitrates and phosphates, and soil glittering with bone, and this single Mountain Dew bottle eddying in a green-tinged foam, and the ashes of Ocheti reddening in all of our throats. I sit with my knees tucked to my chest, listen to the ducks call each other from either side of what will be the same water and river. You and I both know that despite your dams, you will go on to grow deadly algae in the Gulf, to feed rich alluvial plains, shelter alligators and hellbenders and mud puppies, to have done to you and to do the most beautiful and terrible things. We know the word end is never an end, but always a mouth instead. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Teresa. It's it's a lot to take in and like respond to on the spot. So I'm sorry if I'm not like trying to articulate a question. I'm like, don't know what it is. So. Yeah, I guess like, I mean, I think you spoke to it some just about like how the manuscript came together, but like, what do you hope readers take away from your collection?
Okay, so I mean, so many different things. Obviously, I'm sure you feel the same, you know. But I think one of the things actually that is very top of mind for me right now, you know, I think that, and this poem speaks to it a little bit. The I'm Building a School poem, I think, is a lot about this. But for me, a lot of writing this collection was, I think, trying to sort of contend with the fact that, you know, so many people had been there for so long, given up so much. You know, we spent so much time building this community, and the pipeline went through, right? And trying to figure out how to make sense of that and what that meant. And that's something I'm thinking about a lot now, you know. In the face of this administration and AI, right? And thinking about just knowing how much there is to do and that not all of it is going to work, you know, and that we really, really, really still have to do it, you know, and that things come from the work we do, whether or not we can see them, and that there's value just in doing the work, you know, and in the love we can find for each other in the work, you know, and yeah, we just have to do it, you know, we just have to do it whether or not it succeeds, you know. And so I think that's something that's on my mind, and I hope that that's something that comes through as folks are reading the book as well.
Yeah, that's great. I think, you know, I always know like when people feel hopeless or like small against something large, like just doing something with another person against it like makes such a difference. And like, even just like in a way that how important hope is and learning what you can achieve. And maybe you have like, you know, the student that you quoted at the start of the second section, you know, someone who becomes your friend, you know, like, and this experience shapes their life. And like, you know, but I'm not gonna speak for that student, obviously, but you know, like there are a lot of impacts that come out of this. That's not, even if the main goal wasn't achieved, which, you know, is obviously devastating. But yeah, it's a lot to wrestle with, I guess. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. And I think your work is speaking to a lot of the same things. And I think we are really different projects, but are kind of grappling and contending with these same, like, what do we do under these like oppressive capitalist and colonialist forces, right? Like, how do we make sense of our lives and our, you know, relationships and our joys?
Yep. Yeah, I had this vision of like, okay, if I couldn't make my book as long as I wanted to make it, then maybe I would end it with a separate long poem called The Weekend. So like the idea is like first part of the book is devoted to work, but then like, what is the weekend? And like symbolically, what is that? And like, how is that like building alternative ways to live under capitalism? And like, you know, but I think it's still like, could be a future project, but not anything I'm working on.
Yeah. Well, I hope it is a future project.
Yeah. I think that's a good transition to, I'm going to finish out the book. So this is the ending of it. Once I commit to writing a long poem about work, I decide to read a number of books about work. And this too becomes work, thankless and unpaid. And it begins to make me feel worse. And I begin to dread the work of reading about work. In the movies Alien and Aliens, people tend to think the xenomorphs are Ripley's biggest problem. But in both movies, Ripley is fighting an evil boss and a pervasive corporation. The sequel puts this conflict front and center. Paul Reiser's character Carter Burke is the epitome of corporate scum and pulls a bait and switch on Ripley, promising to destroy the aliens, but really planning to bring them back for profit, saying the facehugger specimens are worth billions to the bioweapons division. He even releases the specimens into a room that Ripley and the young girl Newt are sleeping in, trapping them in hopes that they'll become hosts to an alien he can smuggle back home. Ripley concludes, I don't know which species is worse. You don't see them fucking each other over for a goddamn percentage. For me, one of the more depressing aspects of this film is that it's the year 2179 and capitalism still rules the day. The narrator and Bartleby the scrivener first resolves to dismiss Bartleby if he refuses to answer questions about his history, where he was born, and other personal information. Bartleby rightly refuses. The narrator pleads, what reasonable objection can you have to speak to me? I feel friendly towards you, which is a good reminder that your boss is not your friend, and anything you share will be used against you. In this way, a boss is a cop. Later, when the narrator has grown angry at Bartleby's refusal to quit the office, he demands, what earthly right have you to stay here? Do you pay any rent? Do you pay my taxes? Or is this property yours? This cuts to the heart of this story of Wall Street. What right do you have to exist if you're not a contributing member of capitalist society? A question that was recently answered by the Supreme Court of the United States in Grants Pass versus Johnson. None. You have no right to exist in public if you not pay rent or have a home. While many read Bartleby's repeated refusals as signs of depression, there's a power in refusal, a glimmer that there might be another way of doing things. Capitalism is not inevitable. You don't have to read like a cop. As the song goes, I was looking for a job, and then I found a job, and heaven knows I'm miserable now. And yeah, I feel that, but also fuck Morrissey. In Alison Rumfitt's novel, Tell Me I'm Worthless, Alice has a haunted Smiths poster. At night, Morrissey comes out of the poster to stand over Alice's bed and try to infect her with his fascism, his visions of who is really British. When she X's out the eyes on the poster, he begins to appear each night eyeless. Alice is interested in hauntings and discovers when asked, people tend to say their workplace is haunted more often than they say their home is. Work turns us all into ghosts, repeating the same learned actions over and over again for eternity. In a dream, it's Alice's job to climb a tower that is also a factory. She notes, the tower factory is haunted, like all workplaces, haunted by the people who have done these same mechanical actions, made the same mechanical statements, cried in the disabled toilets in the middle of every shift, haunted by the feet of every person who has climbed this tower before me. Some people believe they're special and that their workplace would really be screwed if they left. Their work and knowledge too essential to be replaced. But there was someone in the role before them, and there'll be someone in the role after them. A parade of faceless ghosts repeating the same actions. The whole point is that we're replaceable. So I changed jobs, and then I changed jobs again. I think the new situation will be better, by which I mean more tolerable. After a while, I changed jobs again. In the job that ate my brain, the Ramones sing, 5 o'clock rolls around, I feel so glad I kissed the ground. Ain't enough hours in the day, there's got to be a better way. It could be getting older, but more and more after a workday, I find I've lost the ability to think, to articulate ideas clearly. This doesn't help with trying to write in my free time. Ain't enough hours in the day. What happens to work of imagination when my imagination feels dull and slow, when I am tired from the workday, when I have been busy working at work? I like to know the real work of living, the things you do not for a paycheck. What is it that keeps you alive? Thank you.
All right, I'm bringing myself in, and I'll bring in Teresa. It looks like she might have stepped away for a second. I'll bring her. Yeah, there she is.
Here.
Right.
Yeah, sorry, I just was like
This officially, yes.
weird. Going off camera. That was wonderful, Gina.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you.
was great. I'm a fan of those. How the alien movies, the only two that matter, the first two, really talk about the corporation and all that. Did you watch Alien Earth at all?
I haven't. I've heard mostly good things about it, so I do want to check it out. But yeah, have you seen it?
Yeah, I liked it. I want to watch it all again now. It's a very different thing. And that guy Noah Hawley, the way he approached Fargo, which I largely liked. It's more about kind of like his impression of it, and he's not just doing a TV version of it. So here he does. It's like a prelude to the first. Well, it's not really even. It's just set before the first Alien movie. But I mean, again, without going down a path, which I definitely could, it definitely does delve more into the corporation and starts to like seed these ideas that he realizes were present, whether they were in the foreground or not. More so in Aliens, again with the Riser character, like one of the great villains of all time. But yeah, that was great. And again, how you move between these different like modes is really fantastic. So
Thank you.
I have to read the book now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, as we're wrapping up, and the fireworks, they're getting the fireworks ready right now.
Oh, thank goodness.
I had to pay them $20 and and a couple of beers. But do either of you have anything in particular that you want to plug, like readings coming up, or you have the books again, so it can't hurt to like give a visual on that or whatever. But anything you want to do to plug, go for it. In whatever
Sure.
order, go for it.
Yep, I can jump in. Yeah, so the book is Works and Days. It's from Radiator Press. And
I
it's
love
out
the
now.
radiator.
Yeah. And I did a bunch of readings the last few weeks. So this is the last reading I have for a bit until the new year. So I'll be reading in Philly in January, and then in March, Baltimore and Detroit, and actually probably developing a little Midwest tour, probably coming to Chicago. So
Great.
I will keep you, posted on that, but things are in the works right now.
Great. Teresa, what about you?
Yeah. This is my book. Can buy it wherever, but please buy it from an independent bookstore if you want to buy it. And yeah, I'm reading in LA tomorrow. I'm going to LA tomorrow morning. And we'll be reading at Sunday Reading Series in Chicago later this month. Gina, you're in Philadelphia?
Yep.
Okay.
This way?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think in March. So I will reach out to you as well. Also, just side note, my son used to be really into radiators and called them radiators, and he just recently stopped calling them radiators. So I appreciated getting to hear the various takes on radiator.
Great. I have nothing to plug aside from this, and I do have a book that's coming out from Salmon, who's published all my full length stuff, and delayed by COVID. So I thought it might come out this year, but Salmon, they make beautiful books, very small operation based in Ireland, and they hopefully 2026, and that's not what I was reading from tonight at all. It's a book called Frequently Asked Questions. So I'm really looking forward to that coming out when it does. That I'll be gallivanting a little bit as opposed to just sitting here in my hovel here. So so I don't necessarily want to keep you any longer. Any final words or thoughts before we sign off? And I personally then have quite a crying jag that I need to get to afterwards.
Don't we all?
Any last stuff from either of you, or no?
Just like, thank you. This was such a lovely night and experience. So I really appreciate it. Appreciate, all the work you do to organize and bring poets together and put on these sort of events.
Yeah, very, very much ditto. This is lovely, Larry. Thank you so much for your organizing, your time. And Gina, it's so great to hear your work. And yeah, this has been wonderful.
Yeah, I echo all those sentiments. You were both fantastic. It's one thing to read the work; it's another thing to hear the work aloud, and especially by the people that read it. And I appreciate you both playing with the three set option. I think you both did a great job with that, and it enabled us to just hear things differently than we might if it's like a traditional reading where someone reads for 10 or 20 minutes or something. So, but you were both fantastic. So I appreciate you taking your time to do this. So. So let's say an official goodbye, and then you two just hang on for a second. So afterward, we can have our satanic ceremony.
Perfect.
Right. So thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of the evening and year, and let's hope things get better. 2025. I'm looking forward to saying goodbye to it. All right, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.